Tonight, the Minority in Parliament boycott meeting with Chief Justice is a bold move to signal the continued dissatisfaction with processes leading to the appointment of Chief Justice Baffoe-Bonnie.
Is he on a thank you tour? Is my Lord Baffoe-Bonnie on a thank you tour? Thanking the government for appointing him. We, the minority, don't see him as a tolerant head of the division.
More from Alexander Afenyo-Markin as the group sends strong warning to majority they will not allow government rush any bill through parliament under certificate of urgency as they vow to match the majority boot for boot on the floor this year.
The majority has turned parliament into a parliament of fast track and no scrutiny. A rubber stamp parliament where everything comes under certificate of urgency. They should be ready to beat us in the chamber. We will resist.
We have details from Parliament as the opposition takes on Bank of Ghana and the Ghana Gold Board for causing financial loss to the states in a $214 million gold for reserve loss. We have details of that, plus speak to those who matter in this particular subject here on Top Story. All right, Top Story as always is brought to you by Telecel, Connecting Energies, Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil Enjoy, Holy Sleep, and also by Shield Pension. Trust into the future with you. Now, the minority in Parliament have boycotted a meeting with Chief Justice Paul Baffoe-Bonnie. Minority Leader Alexander Afenyo-Markin announced the boycott ahead of the meeting at a news conference. The minority in Parliament also sent a strong warning to the majority ahead of the resumption of Parliament, indicating they will not allow government to rush any bill through the House under a certificate of urgency. Now, the caution comes as part of the opposition's measures to escalating their duty of, holding government to check. Now, let's first listen to their reasons on why they believe Ghana's economy's new turn is not the doing of the Mahama government, but solely as a result of external forces.
We have been told that the economy is doing well. That is not in doubt. But the question is the economy doing well because there is prudent management of our economy, or that whether this government has introduced some social intervention programs that have in itself created an opportunity for young, ambitious Ghanaians? We hereby submit that the so-called gains were not born out of government's competence in the management of our economy. Rather, the IMF program, debt relief, rising commodity exports, reduced expenditure are the major reasons for the upswing in Ghana's economy, not a re-engineering of the economy. Therefore, my respected friend and colleague, Dr. Forsen, must know that these facts expose the government's hypocrisy in telling us that they have prudently managed the economy. The much-touted fiscal consolidation has been attained on the back of a sharply cut expenditures for critical sectors, resulting in lower borrowing needs, and currency appreciation solely due to the weakening of the US dollar, which has led to preference for massive global investment in gold. Also, the debt restructuring, which we started under MPP while in government, in addition to the commodity export boom in gold and cocoa output, led to the big trade surplus which was recently announced. So since May 2023, Ghana has had a $3 billion from Ghana's IMF program, which in turn has unlocked light debt relief and financing. For example, in mid-2025, Ghana's parliament approved a 2.8 billion restructuring deal with 25 official creditors, including China, France, the US, UK, and others. Under this agreement, all debt payments due through 2026 were rescheduled, effectively granting Ghana 2.8 billion in debt service relief it could play with in the budget. So once again, Ghana's economic fortune so far is tied to the IMF program and the windfall, not necessarily due to any re-engineering of the economy.
All right, now, my colleague James Aveji was at this particular news conference earlier and joins me in studio with much more. James, let's delve into the, specifics, but let's start from, a certain notice that a minority has found space to address the ongoing tour by the CJ, by indicating that they will take a certain action. What is their position?
Yes, so, Brace, this morning the Chief Justice have been to a number of institutions. First was the Ghana Police Service, where he met the IGP, and from the police he moved to Parliament in that scheduled meeting between the Speaker himself and the Speaker. Now, per customs, anytime any of these institutions or heads of institutions comes to meet the Speaker, it is done in company with the leadership of Parliament, where you have both minority and the majority, but based on the invitation of the Speaker. And so we didn't know that this was supposed to be with the leadership, but at this press conference, the minority leader, in the middle of addressing the issues on the table, indicated that they have heard that the CJ is going to be in Parliament to meet them, which is the leadership of Parliament, and that they are registering their boycott of this particular meeting based on two key issues. One has been the issue they have raised during his vetting. Remember that famous introduction speech by the minority leader, which dragged the whole process for over 3 hours, about questions surrounding his appointment. And that two, they believe that this must have been a thank you tour he's embarking on to thank the John Mahama government for appointing him as a Chief Justice. As far as they are concerned, they don't regard him, especially that they don't see him as a tolerant head, quote unquote, of the judiciary, and so they will not sit in this meeting with the CJ.
And by the way, we have seen that my Lord Baffoe-Bonnie and his management are all over at the various ministries, including Jubilee. Is he on a thank you tour? Is my Lord Baffoe-Bonnie on a thank you tour? Thanking the government for appointing him as a Chief Justice. And we hear today he is coming to Parliament. We, the minority, don't see him as a tolerant head of the division, because members of the minority came and attacked when we criticized the processes leading to his nomination. We will therefore not be part of his thank you tour. If he wants to engage us, our offices are open. He should come and engage us, and we'll let him know things that we find wrong.
Well, James, that's the minority leader speaking there on their reasoning or their decision to boycott this. But let's delve into specifics, starting with the Gold for Reserve programs. What did the minority say in terms of what is being their fresh position on this particular matter?
The minority has a problem with the Gold Board being a regulator as well as dealing in the gold market. They believe that this compromises their position as a regulator of the market. They believe that the $240 million figure that is in question, which they believe is a loss in the Gold for Reserve program, which the Gold Board CEO gives a different description to, They believe this is a financial loss caused to the state by both the BOG and the Gold Board, and that they have triggered a motion in Parliament which have been accepted, and that if the Parliament come back, they will invoke every power of Parliament to look into this matter, as they also invite other stakeholders in the gold environment or market to take an interest in this and see to a proper conclusion of this matter.
And today, we don't know whether the Gold Board makes a distinction between regularly mined gold or an illicit gold. All we know is that they are talking about their success story, the amount of gold or the tons of gold they have purchased. Yet they fail to tell us whether or not there are measures to fight against illicit gold that are mined through galamsey activities. But we want to tell the central bank, participating in the activities, being part of the feast, and when there are issues, you run away and you want to put the blame squarely at the feet of Gold Board will not wash. What is happening amount to a financial loss to the state. We are also aware that central bank is saying that it wants to give some moratorium of 1 month to allow for further deliberations amongst the various parties, the Ministry of Finance, Gold Board, and government, on a sustainable cost-sharing structure for the program. So indeed, if the minority was merely blowing hot air, why have they now decided through joint board meeting to take steps to ensure a sustainable cost structure?
So that's the minority leader there. James, let's end with your warning to the majority ahead of the recall of the House.
So the minority leader has been clear today. He said that they will not give the room for what they describe as the rush of bills through the House under certificate of urgency. They gave a few examples. For instance, they believe that some of these bills taken under certificate of urgency lead to some defect in the laws which the various institutions come back to Parliament to seek for amendment. They talk about the lithium deal, which was taken through under certificate of urgency and now has been ditched and brought back to the House for some corrections, especially on the rate, rate issues as well. And so they are sending this strong warning to the majority that they will hold both the other side of the House and the government to account and will match them boot for boot on the floor, not regarding the numbers 87 they have on the floor.
When Parliament commences, reconvenes on the 3rd of February, we are no more going to allow the majority to have it way. The majority has turned Parliament into a Parliament of fast track and no scrutiny. A rubber stamp Parliament where everything comes under certificate of urgency. Yes. They should be ready to beat us in the chamber. We will resist with all the energy in us. No more certificate of urgency. They had their way in the passage of the Gold Board law, the Energy Sector Recovery Levy, the Dumso Levy. They also introduced its certificate of urgency, and many more other laws that they pass it through certificate of urgency without any scrutiny. We hereby sound a caution to the NDC majority. If they are not ready to read, we are ready to read. We all became aware that their 189 only exists in numbers. When it comes to substance, they can't match the length of the trousers of the minority. They only talk numbers. But we all know that even in the passage of laws, when it comes to quality debates, we do proper research and we argue on facts. supported with data. What they come into the chamber to do is their propaganda. But come 2026, this 2026, they will never have their way.
You're still listening to Top Story, brought to you by Telecel, Holy Insecticide Spray and Coil, and by Assured Pension Trust. We've been joined on the phone lines by the Majority Chief Whip, Nelson Roxon, Dafia Esquire. We're grateful to you, sir, for joining us here. First off, the minorities say they will not tolerate any bill to be brought to the House under a certificate of urgency, and that they will do that to, to check you, the majority, and the government. What's your response?
First of all, let me seize the opportunity to say good evening to, I believe we are on radio.
Yes,
so
please.
Good evening to your listeners, and also those who are somehow watching us on Facebook. Let me also say good evening to my colleagues who will be returning to their house sometime next week. We want them to quickly round up and come so that we can do government business. First of all, what is the minority leader saying? Which part of the Constitution gives him such powers that he can stop the government from introducing a bill in pursuance of Article 108, 106 of the Constitution and the certificate of urgency? Using what means? When he was a minority leader, how many bills didn't he introduce under certificate of urgency? Who questioned him? How does Afenyo think that he can get up and talk like the way he's talking?
Now, he gave some reasons. He says...
No, please. You didn't ask him to give you particulars. And we are going to provide you with particulars. The number of bills under his leadership as majority leader he passed under certificate of urgency in this same parliament. The number of bills that his immediate predecessor, the Honorable Oseche Mensah, who passed under certificate of urgency in this parliament. How many bills has the NDC government passed within 2025 under certificate of urgency? As a result of which he thinks that he can mount a platform and steal all those things. If he has any material thing to say, he should say so. In any case, he's also confused. How does a lithium agreement amount to a bill? If he brought a lithium agreement for ratification, and because of concerns of stakeholders, government has listened and is being withdrawn for the concerns to be factored into the agreement and to be brought back for ratification, how does this amount to a bill being brought under certificate of urgency, as a result of which a person will mount the press conference and be talking in the manner that he's talking?
But doesn't he have a point when he says when a bill or an agreement is brought under a certificate of urgency, it does not help in the sort of strict checks that the parliament has to do, and that's why they say, well, no to any certificate of urgency. Let's do thorough work on the bills and agreement that are brought to the House.
I am telling you that the lithium agreement is not a deal. So in the first place, he has goofed.
But he cited several laws as well.
He has misled the public. A lithium agreement is not a bill. There's a difference. It's an agreement that has been executed between the government and an investor in the mining sector.
But that wasn't the only one he mentioned.
Hold on. The requirement of law is that it's brought to Parliament for Parliament to ratify. In the course of the ratification, issues were raised. Afenyo himself, as majority leader in the 8th Parliament, withdrew a lot of agreements and bills. I will provide you with evidence. So this crusade, he has nothing material to say about this government. So he has to be clutching at straws and be talking as if he has anything material of concern to this government. There's nothing. Number two, Afenyo says that the speaker's visit to the CJ's visit to the speaker today was a thank you tour. Really? the Chief Justice listed the Speaker as a head of a co-equal arm of government. And as leaders of Parliament, the Speaker saw it fit to invite us leaders to join him to welcome the Chief Justice. Today, you have had to listen to reform programs that the Chief Justice is introducing in the judiciary. These are the things we are asking for. And the man is on a crusade to get that done. He says that he cannot do so alone. He needs the support of Parliament because it is Parliament that approves the budget. And you cannot be asking for budget enhancement only during the budget approval process. So in his wisdom, he's engaging Parliament from the beginning of the year and throughout the year, so that when it is time for budget approval, some of these concerns that he wants to reform can be properly accommodated in the budget. How is that this amount to a thank you talk? Because you see, he has decided to detach himself from the governance process and do petty politics with everything.
But Afenyo's argument does not only rest with Parliament. He mentioned other agencies that the Chief Justice has been to. Today, we know he was at the police headquarters before coming to you. And his argument is that it looks as though the Chief Justice from last week has been touring one state agency after the other. And that's like thanking the government. He doesn't have a point to raise issues with that.
Can you, if you ask the question, can we answer you?
Of
because
course.
I'm going to answer all the things you have raised.
Okay.
The Chief Justice didn't only visit Parliament because he intended to visit Parliament. He made the point that the premises, if you go to the premises of the Superior Court of Judicature, that is the High Court, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court, they don't have proper security. So they are arranging with the Ghana Police Service, and by doing so, visiting the IGP, to request for a permanent police presence within the premises of the Supreme Court and the other courts. How is that not a good reform? Again, he's visited the Minister of Finance to engage him in respect of some limited accommodation facilities they had for some Court of Appeal judges. And so they are looking for more support to be able to provide for some of these Court of Appeal judges. How is this out of order? Again, some of our Superior Court judges do not even have official vehicles. So how wrongful is this on the part of the CJ in engaging the Minister of Finance from early in the year, a matter of politics?
Okay.
Every leader has a staff. This new Chief Justice, he has his staff. And we're all commending him for being proactive. Every day, the judiciary cries that the judiciary is denying this, the judiciary is not giving support. Now, the man is going out of his way to ask for support. Again, Afenyo says it is wrong.
All right. So in that particular meeting you were there, what was discussed?
These are the matters that I've just articulated for you. He also spoke about the fact that the courthouses, the judges, there are about 40 Court of Appeal judges that do not have places of office to operate from. And that is such a serious matter, that a Court of Appeal judge will come to work, will have no official residence, for purposes of his office work, like desk work. So they are making arrangements to provide for that.
Okay.
You don't do that in isolation.
Mm.
You need to engage, including that he wants to introduce a morning session and an afternoon session in the court proceedings, so that a court will sit from 8 a.m. to about 1:30 p.m., and then another judge will take it over from 2 p.m. to about 6 p.m. These are the reforms that the CJ is introducing to ensure that cases are expeditiously heard.
Okay.
The complaint is that there are too many cases clogging the wheels of justice from grinding.
Mr. Afenyo, are you one of those who argue that you want experience in the House?
Hold on.
No. I just want you to clarify this for me.
Establish special courts to deal with matters of Galamsey, for instance, we call them environmental courts.
So there's going to be a specialized court for
Galamsey.
Galamsey.
Sorry?
There are going to be specialized courts for Galamsey.
Yeah, to deal with environmental issues, environmental offenses.
Okay. Now, are you one of those who argue that you need, experienced people in Parliament?
Am I those what?
One of those who argue that you need to have experienced people be retained in the House of Parliament.
Yes, by all means, Parliament requires men of experience, as well as a blend of the young and the old. But experience is always better.
But isn't it on the same score that he, having been a majority leader before, is advising that we need to put an end to the certificate of agency because it does not help us to come out with good laws?
He should tell me the flaws contained in those laws that he himself passed under certificate of agency, vis-a-vis the few that we have passed under certificate of agency within the past 12 calendar months. Then we can make the analysis. But until he's able to provide those further particulars, I think that is blowing hot air. And you shouldn't pay attention to him.
How do you respond to their stance on the CJ's nomination? They still say they don't appreciate how he was nominated.
Now, has he been able to establish to you the constitutional breach in the course of the nomination? So again, it is about suppositions. They say things based on suppositions, not based on fact, not based on law, not based on nothing. And want to just say things and throw them out there. You saw them at the vetting. What did he say? Somebody who has been on the bench since 1992. And you claim that he's not qualified to be a Chief Justice.
How ready are you for the minority when the House reconvenes? Because they say they won't allow you to have your way, just like that.
But have we ever had our way in Parliament? We've never had our way. Everything we have done in Parliament, we have competition or litigation from the minority. But we often will put the things to vote. So if the minority leader is saying they will stop us, I am struggling to appreciate his choice of language. Because we have also been in the minority before. We didn't behave in the manner and the threat that he issues publicly. We go to the floor and articulate our concerns. We vote. If we were voted, we took it in our stride. If we felt strongly about a position which he was not minded to accept at the time, we walked out. We don't threaten to the extent that they will have to beat us. We didn't do any such thing. So he should be minded in his choice of words. That on the floor, it is not about wrong. It is about grain.
I'm grateful to you, Honorable Nelson Roxon Afenyo-Markin, Majority Chief Whip. This has been Top Story, brought to you by Telecel, holding Certified Spray and Coil, and also by Shield Pension Trust. Up next is News 9.